Fine. Hi, I'm Christoph, working, as Martin said, as a product manager at Digital Service. Usually not too much involved into accessibility, but we have a small, little, very motivated group within our company that is kind of trying to, make sure that this is always considered and at the top of everyone's mind at Digital Service. And that's what we want to talk about today. So the title of the presentation is Holding Threads Together, which is based on Mario's kind of passion for knitting and how making sure that there's an accessibility focused group in a company kind of feels like knitting from time to time. So yeah, as said, what we're going to talk about today, quick intro where we are halfway through it already. And then we want to talk about the three main goals that we are following as a group within our organization, which is to raise awareness, to build capability, and to define processes from within. And then we're going to finish that up with some reflections and advice that mainly Mario from years of work has gathered. And then we're going to open it up a little bit and want to hear from you what your experiences are with the topic, with building ambassadors or running an ambassador group within your organization. Cool. Really quick to the glossary. So the A11J is Y is accessibility, like the short form. And if we talk about PWT, we mean people with disabilities. So that's going to come up once or twice in the presentation. So just so you know. Really quick who we are. As I said, we are a small ambassador group, and we have the luxury that we are compiled out of all of the disciplines we have at Digital Service. So there's a couple of people from product management, including me. We have a few engineers as well, which comes really handy if we are building tools that we're going to talk about in a minute. Really heavy from a design perspective as well with Martin and Mario that you can see in the pictures as well. And then we have a colleague from the communications team and a colleague from the research team. And altogether, we try to meet on a bi-weekly basis and run specific initiatives to make sure that accessibility is very much on top of everyone's mind in the company and also been followed through in the services that we are creating. So really quick to Digital Service, I guess a lot of people who join those calls more regularly will know, but we are kind of the central digitalization unit of the federal administration in Germany. As you could see with the disciplines, we try and we are working user-centered, data-driven and iterative on various public services, including where Mario and myself are mainly focused on digitalizations of law. So if you have questions around that at any point, hit us up. But yes, we work across a broad field of topics within the federal administration. Yes, now back to the three goals that I mentioned really quick, which is raise awareness, build capability, and define processes. That's how we kind of build our mental model around what are we trying to achieve and what are we doing to get there. And then there's a second kind of mental model that we built on top of that, which is kind of the two focuses you can set. You can either focus on compliance or usability. So how we kind of try to map our initiatives is seeing what's the goal that we are trying to achieve and in which of those two buckets does it fit. So we're just going to talk through some examples and then kind of make our way towards our learnings. So I'm going to take the first few and then hand over to Mario. But the first one, which is all about raising awareness within with our colleagues, really much focused on usability, is our bite-sized accessibility posts. So they come every week on Thursdays. I think the one for today is still to be posted. But what we're trying to do is to really kind of share snack-sized learning bits into our usual communication. So on Slack, we kind of make a bit of a competition around how much clickbait can we generate and how funny, how provocative, etc. Can we make the messaging that will bring people into learning more about accessibility? We usually always then also link to the correct resources for people to learn more about. We've recently asked for some feedback around that. So we are not 100% there yet. It's quite mixed, like people find them quite helpful or extremely helpful, but we also see where people don't really follow through. So we did a bit of a funnel analysis of like, do you recognize those posts? Do you interact with them? Do you actually follow through and click on the links and learn more about it? And we see a bit of a drop off when it comes to actually getting into the depths and clicking into the documentation and learning more about the specific topic that we picked. But we also asked, what have you learned from it? And there's quite some nice replies that we got. So just some example, like less people understand a complex text than I expected. I learned many things, for example, consistent naming from today. Sorry, just saw that there's a German word in there. Perfect, but that's our one initiative of many. The next one is also around raising awareness, but then more focused on to compliance, which is just our accessibility onboarding for new joiners. So we are about to hit 200 people within our organization, and every single one of them will run through an accessibility onboarding organized by the Accessibility Ambassadors Group. So it's sharing content, it's some kind of gamified ways to talk about accessibility, and we're just making sure that whoever joins our company, which are people coming from very diverse industries, diverse backgrounds, etc., understand, have like a general understanding of accessibility, but also know the importance that we put on it as a company. Speeding on to the next one, which are our pizza-powered accessibility tests. So what we do is we invite teams, or teams are also approaching us, that they want to review the services that they are building. And we review them through the lenses of people with disabilities that we adapted based on the example from Gov UK. So there's a browser extension that you can use, and then teams can kind of look at their services through the lens of somebody with like visual impairments, with other impairments around using a keyboard, potentially having to use other assistant equipment. And it, of course, doesn't replace like proper assessment, and it's never a true representation, but it's really about building empathy and having the teams kind of look at their services with a more broad set of eyes. One of the teams in my space, we're building like a portal for people to take a look at laws, case law, etc. We've just done that a couple of weeks ago, and it's been really, really interesting and really nice to see how everybody kind of started talking about it afterwards, and how also conversations are changing afterwards when you talk about new features or things that you want to implement. Yes, that's the first three examples, and I would hand over, Marielle, to you. I can keep the presentation going if you want to.
Yes, thank you. I think maybe what could make it easy if you have the Google Slides is that you click on my icon there, and then you would be following me on the Google Slides. But if it's too complicated, then maybe I just say, please skip to the next slide. Okay. Hello everyone, and thanks for joining. And I'm taking over now from Christoph. Thank you for also acknowledging like the resources we could reuse from Gov UK, because it has been also very helpful for us to get started. And this is something I found amazing about this design government community, that we get to share and exchange practices. So moving on to like another combination of goal and orientation for initiative would be like to build capability in the sense of compliance. And one example I can give here is sometimes also related to acknowledging the fact we cannot know everything. And for instance, when I started at Digital Service a little bit more than a year ago, I knew nothing about PDF accessibility. Yet for our digital service, for our access to justice portal, we had to first, for the MVP, rely on PDFs. So we set ourselves the goal to make it as accessible as possible. including also those PDF, and therefore we actually got backup from external expert who could really support us in understanding like the difference between PDF accessibility and web accessibility. So we learned also a lot from this, and yeah, I think sometimes it's also important to push the limits of our own domain. And this training, I found it super good that we managed to open it to other projects who also had to deal with PDF. So for instance, our project Digital Check, where the people working there were invited to take part into this training. I know sometimes budgeting can be a bit of a difficult topic to make those kind of shared initiative, but yes, sometimes you have to go by the attitude, do it, and if someone comes after you later, then you'll handle the situation when it comes. So this is a bit like the approach we had with this one. Another thing, now we're coming to the third part of it, which is to define process for usability. Here we have been doing more of, so actually I'm sorry, it's actually reversed here. What I meant here, this process is related to compliance rather, and this example had more to do with engaging with the teams in the company that work on products, to have like a shared discussion on what the needs are and who could be responsible for what kind of accessibility criteria. And so we organized as the Accessibility Ambassador Group a workshop with all those different disciplines, so product design and engineering, to actually discuss in your product who would be the person who would ensure that the alternative texts have the proper definition. And we did that also to find out if we had the assumption that depending on the project context, not everyone can have the same role, and also not every role are represented the same. And this kind of workshop help us also to better understand what are the challenges of the different teams and how they would tackle that. But it also opened the discussion within the teams on how to tackle different criteria, because as Christoph mentioned in the beginning, one of the biggest issue we have is that people don't know necessarily the criteria when it comes to compliance. So this was also a way of raising the awareness, what are the existing criteria. And now coming to the defining process, but for usability, of course, can you go to the next slide, please? Of course, of course, what matters here for us, especially in digital service, is to test with people who have access needs. So to test with people with disabilities, and this is something I'm so happy and proud to be part of, because before that I was always working in the private sector, and it seems like an unreachable goal to ever be able to test. And with the support of many people in the company, but also outside, I'm looking now at Priyanka, with whom we've been talking before and regularly on the topic of organizing those testing. We managed to develop a network of associations who can help us to find participants for the research. And we also ran the first usability test with people with visual and cognitive disabilities. And yeah, for me, it was a big milestone to go beyond like the expertise, so to say, on paper, and get into the real thing, of talking with people and understanding exactly their challenges. Okay, that's kind of it for the examples we could provide of initiatives, and I'm looking forward to hear what sorts of initiative do you develop in your organization. But I want to end up on a few last advices that I like to give. With so much different initiative going on, I think the first thing that matters when you get in such organization or when you want to start such accessibility related initiative is to get to know the people first. It's maybe not the most intuitive thing, or maybe it's super intuitive for you, and if it's the case, sorry, ignore the 2 next minutes. But for me, understanding like which experiences people have with accessibility, how do they feel about accessibility, or what do they want to learn about accessibility, always has been a very important way to start, because then you can also find the people who have certain interest. For instance, in our company, we have one designer who is not part of the accessibility ambassador group for whatever reason that is like personal to her, but she's super active with Gebärdensprache, so sign language, and easy language, and she has been pushing to organize training around that and sharing resources for the training she took part in. And I think, yeah, you have also to keep that in mind, that you cannot hold everything always together, but you should always encourage and yeah, motivate people who maybe sometimes just need a little bit of a push. And then for the people who might have some fear maybe, or anxiety or uncertainty about the topic, it's very good to have a first talk with them, so that then you can really keep in touch with them and yeah, work on them on the longer run. Could you go to the next slide? I think there would be a couple of bullet points appearing as you go. Yes. Another advice is to keep the power dynamic in mind. It kind of relates to talking to the people, but you might be aware that there are different type of powers. I will quickly go through them. The first one would be the formal power, so who makes the last call for key decision. Then there is also the reward power, who decides how to share resources. Then there is also the coercive power, who can exercise power as a pressure mean. The expert power, who is responsible for key expertise field. The information power, who may use or retain key information. And finally, the referent power, who has a lot of social influence. And when you talk to the different people in your organization about your motivation to make accessibility, to push for accessibility, it's always good to keep these different sorts of power in mind, because of course they are not settled, and it's not like you map the organigram on them and then you have the answer to everything. But if you, for instance, want to push for company-wide onboarding, like I did in my previous company, I lost a lot of time just trying to talk to the wrong person, because this person didn't have the power to do what I was asking from her. But as soon as I talked to the right person, the person who actually had the formal power to make this happen, the decision to push the onboarding on a company level was activated and made in 2 weeks. So and I've been spending a year before that trying to push the other person to get this for me. So yeah, it's sometimes a little bit complicated, all those like type of powers and all of that, but it's just a framework to sometimes try to think like, who actually do I need to talk to get this. Next slide, please. Yes, the most important is to keep it fun. I always find this with accessibility, that it can be seen as a bit of a very technical or boring topic. And for me, it has always been my personal challenge to make it entertaining without making it stereotypical, which sometimes can also be a challenge in itself. So obviously the purpose is not to ridiculize in any way, but it's more to make it fun for people to learn more about the topic so that they want to learn more. And yeah, I think this is also considering the heavily legal frame in which accessibility exists right now. I think it's a very needed thing. So for instance, one thing I've been doing in the past is to do like a pub quiz focused on accessibility. And yeah, it can be an idea for making it a little bit more fun, but also like the initiative that Christoph described about making the legal frame a little bit more known in the company with those posts that we are doing on Slack is connected. And before last, yeah, celebrate successes. This one, I must say, I still have a little bit of a hard time with it because I tend to look always forward. But sometimes it's also just nice to not look at what you're missing, but just look at what you managed to get. And yeah, it's maybe a bit of a broader advice for beyond accessibility, but I think also because in this accessibility community, I've been seeing so many people who are so dedicated and who are putting so much energy, and where also the topic sadly of burnout has been popping up quite often. That yeah, I think it's also to manage the energy and the willingness to go on. It's super important to sometimes pause and celebrate. One thing that we have is those stickers that we create for such celebration. I'm looking forward to hear if you have also rituals for celebrations. And then the last one was learn to unplug. Also something that can be challenging in this community where we are all dedicated to the public good. But yeah, it's important, and I've been learning here specifically like to sometimes be stricter with myself on what I can achieve and what I cannot achieve when I work 4 days a week. And this is also a very mindful limitation from my side, because I know that otherwise I wouldn't be able to turn off my brain when I go in the weekend and turn it on again when I come back in the week. So yeah, being aware of their own limitation and taking care of oneself is also very, very important. And this leads us to the end of the presentation. I hope we are quite on time. And I don't know if you have time for question, but if you don't know what to ask us, then I think we already proposed a couple of time to suggest a couple of time to ask you if you had rituals or initiatives that you would like to share related to accessibility.